so we don't run into it.
Good evening. I'm hereby calling to order the April 28th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestria.
Present.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Medic.
Here.
Mr. Minor.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes, here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The purpose of this meeting this evening is to discuss short-term rentals and the BZA signage variance. I now will open up this time for discussion. Does any member of council want to open up for discussion before we have Mr. Thomas come forth? Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On the short-term rental,
Your mic's off.
sorry, thank you. On the short-term rental, this is something that I don't believe anybody in this community really wants. I mean, it's been bandied about for a couple of years, and nobody seems to be in favor of it. And we've had incidents whereby people have gone ahead and done these short-term rentals without notifying the city. And we had a lot of resident complaints about it. And, I kept going off.
Stop touching that.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So the problem is that it creates a situation for the city, for the residents, the building department, the police department, everybody has to get involved in this thing. It's not worth the aggravation for a city like ours. If our city was on the lake or the ocean or places like that where people would want a destination like that to go, that would be a different thing. But here, what you have is you have a lot of people that don't even live in this city, that purchase property in the city, do a cosmetic rehab solely so that they can rent it out to make money off of it. You want to put a long-term renter in there? Fine. Short-term? No. It's not worth the aggravation that it will create. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mano. Is there anybody else that would like to talk
Yes.
about this? Ms. Talbin?
The other part of that, though, is if I am a property owner and I cannot find a long-term renter, however, I still have bills, but I own the property, I pay taxes, why can't I rent a short-term if I can to be able to handle that? I may not want to do that on a regular basis, but what we're also doing is taking that option away from somebody and/or someone like me who lives in their home, but, you know, maybe if there's a big convention in town and I'm going to leave town, I might want to do that. So it restricts certain things that could be beneficial to the residents. So that's the other side of the coin. The other thing is, when you look at the ordinances we have in place for conduct, noise, which from what I hear around people who have complaints about short-term rentals, it's renting to people who have these big parties and that sort of thing. I don't know what other issues there may be with that, but that is the one thing that I hear when it makes, quote unquote, the news. It's that kind of party. So you have to screen the right people. But what other issues besides that is a problem? I need to understand the big picture.
Well, in the past,
Mr. Mano?
the complaints that we had, your houses, these bungalows, they got 10-foot driveways separating them. You have a lot of elderly people living in a lot of those places. When the situations that have happened here, those rentals were used for parties. And the residents were frightened. They didn't know who was there. The noise was a problem and everything else that goes along with those parties. The police had to get involved. There was a lot of situation. I can understand what you're saying. As a property owner, you have a right to utilize your property. But in my estimation, or my opinion, not at the cost of the other people in that area. I mean, if you're gonna buy property, if you wanna have rental property, then I think you need to do your due diligence and find a renter that will take that property. You don't need to go to short term. Most of the people that have those places and do those things, and I know recently in the news, there've been some homes, high-end homes in very expensive communities that were totally trashed by people doing these parties. You gotta understand, they don't always comply with the rules. They don't register and make sure people are aware of what they're gonna do and so on and so forth. They just do it. And then it's always after the fact, and that's what I meant when I said you gotta involve the city and the building department and the police department, and everybody else gets put out for something that could just simply be avoided. And that's the way I look at it.
So I just want to intercept for a minute. I know that when, a few years ago, when we established the rental fee, the yearly rental fee for the landlords to pay, there was a form to fill out. And the form has you put the person that's living in that house and how many people are living in the house. And I can, this will be, Mr. Thomas can probably add to this, but it's very, very difficult for our building department to collect the money, even at $100 per house, and then they get fined, but it's also hard for them to see who's living in that house. And that was what they were trying to do, so that they have a better idea who's taking ownership of that property for that year or 2 years. I can't even imagine if we did have the short term, how would our building department be able to keep track of the people that are living, coming and going? I don't know if that would be something that you might want to address when you talk about it, but I know that it could be an issue, and it's already hard to see, you know, who's living in houses that are rented out for over a year or 2 years. But, Mr. Minor, did you have your hand up?
I have my hand up, but I'll be sure to talk. So there are, in my opinion, there are a number of ways for us to address the concerns that have been raised. There are plenty of cities across the United States that have passed ordinances that restrict short-term rentals to people who live within a certain mile radius of the city in which they own the home that they're planning on renting. It's a requirement. Or you cannot be licensed in the city to operate a short-term rental. There are different things that we can discuss around being holistic about our approach to this outside of just the complaints that we've gotten. In today's economy, a lot of people have moved to short-term rentals just to supplement their income. Someone that goes from working 3 jobs, they want to go down to working 2 jobs, so they rent a room in their house for 2 weeks at a time, or it could be 45 days. Those are things that I think we should consider before we vote to blanket remove a property owner's ability to maybe supplement income. We have Cleveland Clinic near us. I know for a fact that there are patients that come from around the country looking for very short-term rentals close to a Cleveland Clinic hospital for treatment. So, I mean, there's that situation. There are many different situations on both sides that I think we should just consider. We should talk through them. We should weigh the pros and cons of it. Because again, the state is looking at this and saying cities are going to infringe upon property owners' rights. So what does that mean? How do we not do that while still making sure the aesthetics of the city are good? The city remains safe. There aren't multiple cars parked on a street, you know, blocking current residents, taking their spots up. I just think we should talk through these things. I understand that today we're really more so focused on enforcement of our current moratorium. If somebody's doing it right now, what do we do about it? I just want to make sure that that's not we don't go into this as a permanent thing without considering the other side of the equation.
Yeah, I'd like to add a thought as far as just if a scenario where I have a family member I'm renting and my mother-in-law wants to move in, right? And so that's a sublease, could be, we're defining short-term rental as 30 days or under, correct? So, the concern I would have is just subleasing for a family member resident. I can't bring in my mother-in-law, or for, that's something, we should also discuss is, we hurting the residents' ability if they're renting a property to have a family member move in, just under a sublease, and what does that mean? So I think we're starting to define that by determining a limitation of 30 days, under 30 days. So we're, most subleases would probably be more than 30 days, but it's just another thing to consider when we're looking at, this. Are we going to hurt residents from having a family member move in and they're renting the property?
Mr.
Thank you.
Thomas.
So I appreciate the comments and the discussion. I think I brought this board here because I just want to point out what the current legislation that was put in front of you proposes. Anywhere where there's a white area would be considered a U1 district, as well as,
Braden, can you bring the mic closer to you, please?
I'll just carry it. There we go.
Thank you.
So the white areas are where Airbnbs would not be allowed. However, the yellow areas, which is Stone Creek, Pheasant Woods, there's 5 parcels to the north of Pheasant Woods, and then there's some areas that are already predominantly rental properties on Cedar Road, along with the entire east side of Bonnie Lane would be allowed to utilize their property for Airbnbs. Since I've been here, the city has had a moratorium on Airbnbs. They're just not allowed. This legislation would loosen that up a little bit and allow them in certain areas of the community. If you have a HOA, you would have to have HOA approval. And that's, or if you happen to live on Bonnie Lane or one of these 5 properties north of Pheasant Woods. So the idea is not to, well, right now, all I can do is tell people, no, you can't do it. Well, what happens if I do it? Well, I don't know. I'm just asking that you don't do it. So I think the push from my end is that, either we wait for the state to tell us what to do, or we enact some type of a penalty section for the moratorium, or we just put legislation together and roll with it. Our current rental program applies only to traditional rental properties. It does not apply to family members. So if you own a home in Brook Park or in Mayfield Heights, and you're renting, you don't live in the house, you live in another part of the, or you live in another city, you can have your daughter move into the house for as long as you want. We have a waiver form that you sign, and you don't have to pay the $100 fee, and we don't consider it a rental property. The issue that we run into with Airbnbs is, as I've explained before, you're a resident of Mayfield Heights, you come home on a Friday night, your family orders pizza, you go sit on the back patio, the house right next to you is an Airbnb, strangers show up, and you don't know who they are. This is not necessarily saying that they're bad people, it's just, it kind of unstabilizes a stable area. And it causes a lot of complaints and disruptions, and I don't have a lot of answers for people right now other than they're just not allowed to do it. So, again, the discussion is good. I'm open to any and all suggestions, recommendations. That was kind of the whole point of trying to bring it forward, was to get something established or not, or just wait for the state, which may take a while, and their motives may not line up with ours. So, their mentality may be for more of a, profit-driven, for whatever representative happens to represent a local area that wants to do this, whereas ours, we're trying to do what we do with every piece of legislation, which is maintain the health, safety, and welfare of the community which in turn applies to the detrimental effect that these may have on property values to the immediate neighbors.
Mr. Minor?
So how often do we have complaints about this, short-term rentals, or just people randomly showing up at different houses or different people going to and from? And then is there a concentration in a particular part of the city where these complaints are coming from?
No, I've had about 6 complaints since I've been here, which I wouldn't consider substantial, but for all those complaints, I've had the same response, which is, don't really have an answer for you. You know, particularly, we've had some complaints in the Fruitland area over by the Aquatic Center, and half hour wasn't long enough. And, yeah, so not too many, but enough to where, you know, it starts to, maybe we should do something about this, so.
Mr. Balestreo?
Thank you. Braden, we have had residents that have utilized their properties as Airbnbs without coming to the city, and with or without complaints. I know there have been properties, and we know of a number of them, and maybe not a great deal more, that have been being used for, you know, nightly usage or, you know, weekly usage or, you know, weekend, you know, event because a convention's in town or a sporting event. But my biggest concern is obviously the neighbors. I understand the residents' right to utilize their property, but we, as a city, have to be concerned for the neighbors' rights as well. And I think that even draws more of an importance, at least to me, to protect those rights, you know, and have, especially when we know a lot of these people that own houses in the city are not even in the state. And we have trouble getting a hold of these homeowners when there's violations. So, you know, I would agree with Mr. Mano as the fact that this is a time where, you know, we just do not embrace something like this in the city. Because I think it's coming to a head where it's going to get to a point where more people are going to want to utilize their property as, you know, a rental property. I know a homeowner, a property owner that has 43 houses in Mayfield Heights, owns 43 homes in Mayfield Heights. And now I don't know if he's a short-term renter, but and does that, but there's guys that, you know, there's people that come in here and look for these properties just to do those types of things, so.
Yeah, and
And they don't come through the city, so we don't have a good handle. We don't even have a good handle on how many people actually are legitimate renters.
Ms. Talbot?
Braden, do you know approximately how many rental properties we even have in the city, ballpark?
yeah, I think now we have about 700.
700,
That's just how many we know.
Yeah,
right,
that we know about.
right. So why would we not want to send a notice out to those people to let them know that we're thinking about this, since they would be people who would be affected, and we would want to know or get any insight from them or raise concerns that they would need to address? I mean, why are we not involving not just us, but the residents?
I think if I took the time and effort to put together a notice to all of the landlords, the majority of it would go unresponded to. I don't think any of them have any care or concern about the Airbnb potential because they have tenants, long-term tenants that, you know, they want to keep. The Airbnb thing is a real niche area
Right.
for specific people who, you know, specifically come in, purchase a property for as cheap as possible, make it nice, and automatically put it up on Airbnb for some of these prices on Airbnb are $325 a night with a minimum 3-night stay, you know. Meanwhile, the city does have struggling hotels that you can go stay at. So,
But that's.
I think
but
I'm
that's
going to
your
intercept for a minute and recommend that it goes to a committee. I'm going to recommend that we either vote on a moratorium to stay in place this evening and send it to a committee for further discussion.
Yeah, I think the moratorium expires in June, so I think
It
we're
does.
okay.
So we're okay
It's
with it.
December. It's
I
December.
thought we changed the
It's
date.
December.
Extended it.
Oh,
Yeah.
We extended it. Mhm.
Yeah,
So we have till December. So we'll send it to committee. But right now, we need to move into the next subject, which is the BZA, the ordinance on the signage variance.
Do you want me to just go, or do you want me
Yeah,
to wait?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Again, what's in front of council tonight will be BZA's decision for a recommendation to council for the variance request from Sequoia Financial. So this has been a process that has kind of intentionally been put in place to use this as a test case to create legislation to assist in modernizing some of our ordinances that pertain to the corporate park. Sequoia Financial is a larger institution. They, I assume do a lot of business. They have good staff, people. I can't speak for their business, but all I know is that I would like them to stay in the corporate park. And I want them to grow. And I want the ability in all of the facilities in the corporate park to be able to utilize some of these changes and advancements that we're making in order to, facilitate the growth and prosperity of the corporate park. So, I do understand that the one hiccup in my plan is that BZA has a very narrow window in making decisions, as the members of BZA have experience with, as what is the practical difficulty, and that's what they issue or make the recommendation to either approve or deny the variances. In this particular case, it's kind of hard for Sequoia to make that argument other than, well, we want to move into this facility, we want to sign. But I would kind of make the counter argument that the practical difficulty is that they have come to us while we're in a transitional period, and I have not received any negative comments from any of the members of council about moving forward with some of these changes to the corporate park. So I'm just hoping that that kind of takes consideration tonight, and we can move past this and no longer have to worry about variance requests for the signage in the corporate park, because at that time I'll have legislation created that will allow it.
Thank you.
So-
Does any member of council have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Belstrade?
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Thomas's comments, and I appreciate what the BZA decision was. However, you can make an argument both ways for a practical difficulty or even a hardship. But as a council member and as a council as a whole, we don't have to rule on that finite window
Right.
that the BZA does. If we feel this is a betterment for our city in any way, we can overrule the BZA's decision because it's something that's going to better our community, better to allow a corporate partner to come in for tax purposes and for relationships. They're willing to make this a headquarters, and that's something that we've been talking about for a long time, to recruit stable, good businesses within our city. So at this junction, I feel I would override the decision of the BZA to allow this based on Mr. Thomas's proposal and what council feels, what I gathered from our discussions the last time, that this is something we're all looking for in the future. So, this is kind of our guinea pig, but I think we should overturn the decision of the BZA and allow this to go forward.
Okay. Ms. Talbot?
Yes. Do you know when you may have done enough homework to then make recommendations about how we need to change then the signage? Do you have a,
Yeah, it's done. I'm ready to go.
oh, there you go.
Yeah. I just needed this whole process to
Okay,
finalize, so.
thank you.
Right, Mrs. Sabetta?
Okay. So could this ordinance be done? And then how long would it take?
So any ordinance change needs to go to planning commission first, and then whatever committee planning commission may send it to, and then back to council, so that could take 30 days or more.
Okay. One more question? Okay. So this building, this specific building,
Susan,
just-
speak louder, please.
can't hear me? This building, this specific building, this company is only taking partial part of the third floor. And this is a very large sign, which cannot be seen from the street, cannot be seen from the entrance. You can't see it till you come upon it. And when other tenants come in, they're going to want the same sign for their building.
Yeah.
And on this building, you will now be turning this building into a billboard. How do you stop that?
I am not sure that that's a road that I would go down. I just deal with what's in front of me, and what's in front of me is established organization that is looking to grow within Mayfield Heights, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to accommodate that. You know, there isn't, you know, an area or a corporate park or a new building that gets built that doesn't have a sign on the building that still has, you know, multiple spaces to lease. So maybe Sequoia will wind up taking the whole building, maybe they'll take another floor. Mr. Rowan can certainly talk more to that than me.
Yeah, I think I could provide some context to that question. So typically, when you would update the sign code for this type of sign ordinance, you would require, very similar to a process when a tenant moves into a strip center, that the landlord signs off on the sign. When the sign would go up on the building, the landlord would have to submit a letter saying that they provide approval for that sign to be attached to the building. And then you would allow for one sign per building to go up. So it'd be the landlord's choice on which tenant they deem eligible to have that sign up there. And it's something that could change over time if, you know, Sequoia leaves in 10, 15, 20 years. You know, and another tenant moves in, then they could swap that sign out. But one tenant per building is typically what's done in the sign code. So you avoid the situation where you have 3 or 4 signs on one building. That's how it's been done in other communities. That's how I would recommend to handle it here as well. And then it's up to the development standards and the standards for the sign, and then that would be evaluated through Braden's department.
Okay. Did somebody have a question or comment?
Yeah, but it's a,
Mr.
Jeremy,
Balestro?
I'm sorry. Thank you. But it's an agreement between the landlord and the tenant first before it ever would reach the city.
Yeah, that would be part of
Yeah.
their lease. They
Right.
would agree to that, to have the sign as part of their lease. They would submit, the landlord would submit a letter to the city, which is not uncommon for the building department to get for almost any sign that goes up in any commercial strip center. So when they would come and submit for their sign permit, they would have to submit that form as part of the package to the building department, and then they would check that and process it. But it would be negotiated in the lease between the landlord
Which we
and the
have in
tenant.
this case, too.
Right,
Right.
right.
Mr. Minor?
Took quite a bit of taps to turn this thing on. No, I just remember us, not too long ago, we voted on something, I believe, Braden, you brought it, where we described it as the primary tenant for the variance that we voted on. So I think this would be in the same spirit, primary tenant.
Right. And that's really for the landlord to determine versus the city. And in this instance, they determined that Sequoia would be the primary tenant in that building. And we have, as Braden said, this is a test case, and they were kind of ahead of us with the legislation, but we know there's others coming behind them that are going to have a similar request There's some other buildings that are vacant where they are attracting attention, and inevitably, a future tenant's gonna wanna have their name and presence on the exterior of the building. So I feel that this is good practice in laying the foundation to avoid this circumstance and variances going forward.
I would agree.
Thank you. Anybody, is there anyone else down here? No, I thought you, okay. All right, we're good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are now adjourned. Shanisha, are you ready? Okay. Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the April 28th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestria.
Present.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Medic.
Here.
Mr. Minor.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta. Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Tobin.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes from the April 14th council meeting. I hope everyone's had time to read those minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestria
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. Are there any changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These minutes have been approved. Thank you. That's fine, thank you. Does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements this evening?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Talbin?
I actually went to the Heritage Home Program. That was this week, I guess it was. No, last week. And I learned a lot that I did not know about them. And I thought there was a couple things to share, considering we are going to make this, communicate this to the residents on Marnell. So there were a number of things that I thought were important. One, they said you need to plan a season ahead before you know that you're going to do the work. Because they'll come out and they'll send a consultant that will help you look and identify the things that you want to make sure you're asking contractors. They have a database of contractors that they have used and have proven that they have the appropriate liability insurance, workman comps for their people, and they also recommended that you go to the city, your city, because your city would also have the same thing. But they do have them. They don't recommend like we don't recommend, but they still have people that at least you could start with to get 3 bids on. The other thing about the loan, because they have 2 partners they work with, and they say you need to start 90 days ahead, minimal, to be able to actually go for the loan. So I think those were important lead times to understand so people can plan accordingly. They actually will keep the funds, whether you want to put the funds in for whatever, and or you get the funds from a loan in an escrow account, and they will release the money and help control that. I was very surprised at how much hands-on they can actually provide, and they will recommend what needs to be in contracts and ensure that they are to protect the person who may not hire contractors very often. So those were just some of the critical things that I had learned about them that would be important to know. And anybody, I looked at the sign-on list, and there were some people from Washington there were some people from Lander and Brainerd and Bonnie Lane, and then people from all over. There were people from Parma. So they have some virtual ones that are coming up. but you can go on their website, and they will be doing a lot of them in person all over, so you can actually find out where else that they are going to be. But I thought that I'm really glad that the city is a partner with them, because I think they provide a lot of good support. And they talked about the caliber of people they have working there, very knowledgeable, long-term employees, 12 employees with various degrees of involvement. So anyhow, I just wanted to highlight some critical things that would be important. And then finally, I just want to remind people that May 6th, next Tuesday, to vote. There's an issue that's important. You may not think it is, but it's important to municipalities, and it's called Issue 2. So do your homework and go vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Lots of great information. Maybe we can have them out when we have our Marnell meeting, and they can come and be here for the residents. Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard? Okay, we will now move to reports of officers, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Reminder, Beautification Day is this Saturday, May 3rd. For details, call the ACC at 440-442-2627 if anyone would like to get involved. Great opportunity. I'd like to thank the Service Department for their hard work in opening the parks, sweeping the city, and their overall dedication to our green spaces. It's nice to see residents out and enjoying the warm temperatures. The tennis courts will be receiving a makeover over the next month. We'd expect the courts to be closed for 30 days, slated to begin in May. So get your tennis in before then. Community Partnership on Aging is hosting a 2025 Fall Prevention Symposium on Thursday, May 1st. The event is free, and a continental breakfast will be served at 9:30 a.m. with speakers to begin at 10 a.m. It's being held at the ACC, and if you want to reserve your spot, call 216-291-3904. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions? Okay, we're going to move to the Law Director, Mr. Schmidlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee on the whole covered the two subjects I was going to talk about. I just wanted to compliment your council on being polite and professional throughout the process and having a very worthwhile discussion. Other than that, I have no report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Schmidlin? Okay, Director of Finance, Mrs. Scully.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
All right, we will now move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, beginning, we're going to go back to the department heads. Is there any department head that would like to be heard this evening? Mr. Tuney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. We are prepared to begin the bidding process for the Marnell project, and I know that's on the agenda tonight to go out for bids, for permission to go out for bids. The mayor just mentioned the tennis courts. We are also prepared to go out for bids for the tennis courts, but do we have to do a motion for that, or we did that already?
Last
Okay.
meeting.
We will be advertising for the tennis courts this week, and I was thinking this week, but it's probably going to be next for Marnell project. They'll be out for bids, and they'll have to come back here for the award after we open bids.
Thank
That
you.
is
Are
all.
there any questions for Mr. Tuney? All right, thank you, Joe. Now we will move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, beginning with the Building Committee. Mr. Medic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Building Department did not meet, and I do not have a report.
Thank you. Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not meet, so I do not have a report.
Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. No report.
Public Works and Service, Mr. Belstrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No official report. The committee didn't re-meet, but just to dovetail on to what Ms. Talbot said, we are looking at sometime in June to have that town hall meeting with the residents. I am aware of the timeframes And the residents, just for the record, will have at least a year before they probably will need to take care of whatever they need to take care of. So the timeframe would be adequate. And we do have a plan to have them speak also at the town hall meeting. So just so everybody's aware. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Balistreo. Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Park and Rec Department has several exciting programs coming up in May. On May 3rd, the Beautification Day, 8 a.m., help us clean up some of the areas in Mayfield Heights after the long winter. May 10th, afternoon tea and a little tea history 2 at 11 a.m. The price of the tickets are $25. May 13th, adult afternoon out, down home delights, 12 o'clock. It's $10 entertainment by Tom Todd, our last luncheon before summer. May 15th, pickleball and prevention of injury presentation at 12 p.m. It's free, but you must sign up. May 20th, senior movie, The Last Rifleman at 1 p.m. That is also free, but you also must sign up. For any more information of any of these programs, you can call 440-442-2627 to register. And there's a Park and Recreation meeting tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. at the Community Center. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mano. Any questions for Mr. Mano? Safety and Transportation, Ms. Talbot.
I had no report, but I am doing some homework on transportation piece, and that is if anybody rides the bus and has any input on the experience or recommendation for that, or as I recently found out, we don't have driver's ed at the schools, and there's an issue around that. I'm interested in hearing anything related to transportation, if you think that the city needs to be aware of it or something that we need to look into. So it's just exploratory and just open for any kind of input or insight.
Good. All right, thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Talbot? Board of Zoning, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning met on April 15th. As a result, there is one item on the agenda. The council does have the meeting minutes and can address this when it comes forth. I encourage all BZA applicants to address council during the public portion. Thank you.
Thank you. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balistreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning Commission did not meet, so I have no report this evening.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to request that the Building Committee Chair and the Legislative Committee Chair get a meeting together for the short-term rentals. Okay, we'll do a conjoined meeting. All right, we will now proceed to the public portion of the meeting, and pursuant to City Code, each member or each person will have a maximum of 30 minutes to speak for the entire public portion. 5 minutes, sorry. 5 minutes to speak for a maximum of 30 minutes. I know a lot of people would like 30 minutes, allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. If you would like to be heard this evening, please fill out a form at the public entrance, and during the public portion, I will call each person wishing to speak to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record and speak clearly into the microphone. It is now 7:17, and I am going to open up the public portion. I have one in front of me, Mr. Chad Lichten.
It's been so long, I remember how to turn this on. My name is Chad Lichten of 6295 Fairhaven. When should I start?
You're good. Yeah, you're good. It's
Well,
7:18.
Can I ask, I have about 800 words, so I'm going to have to rush to get this in 5 minutes. Can I maybe have a 6-minute speech or something?
Just, we'll start and see how it goes.
Okay. In Mayfield Heights, the word beautification is often said. Beautification refers to the efforts made on the city and residents' behalf to improve the aesthetic properties of our immediate environment and make for a more inviting and cozy atmosphere for prospective homeowners, motorists, passerbys, or out-of-town visitors, and most importantly, those longtime residents who call this city their home. We call them Mayfielders. Let's break down the word beautification. It begins with beauty. The Oxford English Dictionary defines beauty as a combination of qualities such as shape, color, or form that pleases the aesthetic senses, especially the sight. Fication means creation or process of making. During daylight hours, we have beautification covered. We have clean surroundings, autumn leaf murals, accessible and inviting recreational facilities and parks, and well-maintained landscaping. But during nighttime, it is as if we forgot all of our principles and aspirations. From now on, I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say you. You have voted for undiffused light sources that emit circadian disrupting and retinal destroying short wavelength blue light. I feel as if I've been gaslit with uneducated statements regarding their neighbors who have an intentional iron grip on their living and the enjoyment of natural God-given nighttime environment, with statements such as, and these are verbatim, this is things I've been told: wear sunglasses, move, plant shrubs, hire a lawyer, deal with your neighbor with kindness, and finally, my favorite, there are only 2 residents with this problem in Mayfield Heights. The broader context of that statement was, if there were more people being bullied with light at night, we might actually do something about it. One must wonder if 2 people being targeted for their race or religion would be met with such equal apathy. By the way, the city would not, for beautification's sake, allow me to build a simple wall. Let me tell you something about these glaring light-emitting diodes. Not everybody knows not to stare at them. I do, but a lot of people don't. Young people, not everybody knows not to stare at these things. If you stare at a bright, glaring light against a dark background for any length of time, you will burn your precious and delicate retina. Why? Because our eyes have a lens. A lens focuses the image field onto your photoreceptors, and if there is a bright light source, infinitely brighter than its surroundings, your eye does not adjust to the glaring light, just as your skin cannot resist a needle being pressed into it. Therefore, it becomes a method of assault and dehumanization for the people who are knowingly targeted every single night. Simply put, glare, light which is far exceeding the visible range of human vision, is absolutely universally unwanted indoors or outdoors. In our homes, we strive to reduce glare with lampshades and material meant to soften and diffuse light. No intelligent person would willingly choose to stare at a glaring light source for the appreciation of beauty. Not everybody is intelligent, though, but even for people who are, a bright source of light grabs your eye and doesn't let go unless, of course, you block it. It's like someone throwing blunt objects your way, and according to this city, it's your fault for not wearing a thick protective suit. I'll just sum this up and say that ruining daytime would be almost impossible. You'd need some sort of cloak to block the sun for everybody, and that's impossible. But ruining nighttime... The president. So I don't know how we would do that, but that would be the equivalent of ruining daytime. But the beauty of nighttime, however, is quite easily ruined by people who choose to ruin it, people who intentionally like to hurt people with light. Find me one house in Mayfield Heights that doesn't have windows, and find me one resident who wasn't born with a set of eyeballs. There are many other cities in the U.S. that enact ordinances to protect the nighttime environment. You seem to have been misled by business interests selling these flawed technologies designed with one goal, to save a buck, but you disregard the consequences of doing so. I literally read last night that Yale University researchers have recently established a link between excessive artificial light and an increased risk of, and an increased risk of Yale University researchers have recently established a link between excessive artificial light and an increased risk of pediatric thyroid cancer. If you care to educate yourself on the subject, I can send you many articles from reliable sources. Look, I understand that Mayfield Heights is a vibrant community. It's just vibrant in all the wrong ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Licton. Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to be heard? Thank you. Just so I can address you, yes. Thank you. Mr. Joseph Glick, just state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Good evening, members of City Council. My name is Joe Glick. Our address in Mayfield Heights is 5910 Landerbrook. I am representing Sequoia Financial Group as its Chief Operating and Chief Financial Officer. I know in the prior session, a couple points were made about a meeting with the Board of Zoning Appeals recently to discuss addressing a practical difficulty with the application of exterior signage on the building that we're renovating at the Landerbrook Center. I did want to touch base on just a couple of additional sort of comments for context as the council considers this proposal. Our firm Sequoia has about 2,000 or so clients in Northeast Ohio. Most of these clients are of an age demographic, and about half of them like to meet with us in person. We typically meet 2 to 4 times annually with our clients to discuss financial, estate, tax, investment planning topics, and status. The office park is comprised of 3 nearly identical buildings, which may be confusing to some of our clients. And so while it doesn't pose exactly a practical difficulty that I think the board necessarily agreed with us, we do believe that the large format signage would go a long way in helping our clients familiarize themselves with our building within that office park itself. That aside, my intent when I met with this group, I think earlier in December, was to establish the office at 5910 as Sequoia's Cleveland area beachhead, where we would employ client-facing advisors and planning professionals, as well as technology, corporate finance, operations, and other support staff. When I sat before the council previously, I'd indicated that we specifically chose this location, which was a recently abandoned asset, right, by Park Place Technologies, who had chosen to move elsewhere. Because of its large floor plate, room for expansion, because we believe in the office park and we believe in this community, that still holds true today. And I just wanted to note one council person's question around our intent to take part of the 3rd floor of one building. That is the initial intent. I'll go through some of the figures of our growth here in a moment, but we have grown considerably. We continue to grow. Since we met last time, our headcount overall as a firm nationally has grown by about 25% in just 4 short months. We continue to grow at a pace commensurate with that. This location in Northeast Ohio, again, I am committed to having that as our beachhead for any number of types of roles. And it is really our focal point for growth in Northeast Ohio outside of our Akron-based headquarters. So this was Sequoia's original vision and our original intent. When we devised the business case for this location, and I engaged with the folks from the city on this, I had explained that a key piece of our business case was making our presence known in the community, being part of this community in which we've chosen to sort of land a number of roles and to continue to grow. And really what signage does is it extends beyond just saying, this is our building, this is where we come to work, this is where our clients come to see us. It really establishes our foothold in this community as a place where we can basically hang our hat and do so with pride and continue to grow and expand. We chose this location specifically because we believe it's an area where we can identify with a community of professionals and begin to attract and retain the best and the brightest, and continue to attract and retain the best and the brightest in this region. And again, Sequoia remains committed to that. And to that, I am excited to report that we're running ahead of our initial growth projection, and we'll be in a position to land enough of our team members, our Sequoia team members, in this building the day that we move in June, to meet our full year 2025 commitment that we made to you in bringing new jobs to Mayfield Heights. By end of '25, we will be on pace to actually meet our 2026 goal. So we're growing within Mayfield Heights. It's our commitment to continue to grow within Mayfield Heights and to expand well beyond the existing floor print through which we've got our initial lease. We do have a right of first refusal on additional space on that third floor of the building. We intend to exercise that and exercise that through both the growth, organic growth of attracting existing clients, and I also mentioned that we're quite acquisitive. And as we acquire firms in and around this area, our expectation is that we'll continue to consolidate them within this building and within Mayfield Heights. So with that, I request very humbly for your consideration in granting Sequoia the necessary permissions to move forward. We've been very thoughtful about our location strategy with respect to Northeast Ohio, and we look forward to partnering with the city ongoing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Glick. Is there anyone else this evening that would like to be heard? It is 7:29, and I will close the public portion. We'll begin with resolution number 2025-19. Mr. Schmidlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2025-19, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Classic Ford for the purchase of a new Ford F-550 dump truck for the City of Mayfield Heights Service Department and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano. Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Minor
Second.
and second by Ms. Talbot. All members of council should have received a memo from Mr. Brunello regarding a new dump truck. The cost of the new dump truck is $93,845. The approved budget was $120,000. The current dump truck is a 2001, making it 25 years old, and its current condition is caused it to be down more than in use. This vehicle is needed for the daily operations in our service department. Does any member of council have any questions? Mr.
Are we
Minor.
looking to sell the current dump truck for salvage of some sort? Okay.
Probably. Thank you. Anything further? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. Resolution number 2025-20, Mr. Schmidlin.
2025-20, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning of Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights and denying the variance request of Joseph Glick, Sequoia Financial Group, to install a 72.9 square foot illuminated sign on the building located at 5910 Landerbrook.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Balestria. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Balestria. This resolution is a request from the applicant for an illustrated wall sign for the Sequoia Financial Group. All members of council should have received the minutes from the BZA meeting. This was a 4-1 vote in denying the applicant of the variance for the sign. We've heard from Mr. Glick this evening. We heard from our building director, economic developer, I'm sorry. Mrs. Sabetta, is there anything further, being the chair of this committee?
Yes, but I would like to let everyone know that as a BZA person, you can only vote on a particular small road when you think of things like this. And this, I understand that one is on their way to moving forward with these signs, but a practical difficulty was not set forth here. And I do want to thank Mr. Glick. We spent almost an hour with him trying to find this practical difficulty. We did have a memo from the building director. It would have helped, I think, if he would have been there. But in a way that our ordinance is written, this sign is not allowed, and there was no practical difficulty. So I will be keeping my vote the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reddick, did you have something?
No, I think we've discussed this before as far as the building department and some legislation we put forward, particularly for this particular property and looking at, major tenants being allowed to put their signage on the building. What I heard tonight is, Mr. Glick plans on growing within the space. And as our building commissioner mentioned, that, the legislation is currently kind of in place, so for us to kind of re-review. So again, I think what was discussed is, this tenant is a little ahead of our legislation from the building department. But I'll be considering this based on them growing to be that major tenant in that particular building. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Minor first.
Get Don first.
Mr. Mano.
I was just going to recommend you clarify.
Oh, I will, yeah. And Mr. Minor.
I think maybe me and Don had the same question. What exactly are we doing with this today? Or are we voting to just
So-
affirm, like, what?
So if you vote no,
Okay,
we need 5 votes to overturn the BZA's decision. If you vote yes, then you're in favor of supporting the BZA's decision. In denying them their sign.
okay. If 5 vote no, does it go back to the BZA again, or does it simply overturn their decision?
To overturn their
Okay,
decision, it moves
that's
forward.
what I needed to make
And-
sure we were clear on.
And the sign would be granted.
Okay, thank you.
Does everyone understand how to vote? Are there any further questions or comments? All right, roll call on the motion. Oh, Mr. Thomas.
Just for clarification, if it's overturned this evening, it has to go to another council meeting when the legislation is created to be voted on and passed again. So if it's overturned tonight, I still can't issue a permit until it's actually, the process is complete, which will take another 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
Right, there needs to be a positive
Correct.
action taken. It can't be on a denial, yeah.
Thank you. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
No.
Ms. Tolvin.
No.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
No.
Mr. Minor.
No.
Mr. Mano.
No.
Mrs. Snyder.
No. So the motion has been denied. And, yeah, that's right, denied.
As Braden said, there'll be legislation at the next meeting to.
For the positive
For the
affirmative.
positive.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cliff.
All right, we'll now move to the ordinances, beginning with ordinance 2025-18. Mr. Schmidlin.
Didn't you move that, Madam Chair?
We didn't yet, we have to,
Okay. Ordinance 2025-18, an ordinance amending Chapter 1341 of the codified ordinances of the city titled Rental Properties and declaring an emergency.
do I have a motion to table?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. Roll call on the motion to table.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tolvin.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this ordinance has now been placed on the table. Ordinance number 2025-19, Mr. Schmidlin.
2025-19, an ordinance providing consent to the Ohio Director of Transportation to complete the various transportation projects in the city of Mayfield Heights listed in the ordinance and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Belstrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Ms. Tolbin. This ordinance allows ODOT to begin the bidding process for the replacement of traffic signals and to upgrade the traffic control system along Mayfield Road in the city of Mayfield Heights. The estimate construction cost is $2,719, of which $425,000 is federally funded through the MPO CMAQ funds, and the remaining costs will be the city's responsibility. This amount has been budgeted for this year. Are there any questions or comments from council? Mrs. Sabetta?
While we're working on these lights on Mayfield Road, would it be feasible to restore the lights on the underpass, the bridge lighting?
Not included in this.
While doing it, though?
We have been discussing the lights under the bridge with ODOT, and we're going back and forth on it. And I'd rather not undertake something that we may not have to pay for. So we're still discussing the lights.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Anything further?
Madam Chair,
Ms.
do you
Tobin?
know what the duration of this might be? And if there would be any interruption to traffic with them to do this work, just so that we're aware of anything?
I think once Joe, if you want to comment, but I was just say once the project is really fleshed out, then we'll get timelines and
But it's this,
Those things.
it's within this calendar year.
Yes, thank you. Once we pass this, then they have to sell the job, advertise for bids, then award and everything. Probably won't get started till July sometime. As part of the project, there's only 3 of the signals that are being replaced, meaning the mast arms and the poles and everything, the signal heads. Everything else is wiring and new control boxes and a new interconnect system that'll tie right back into the police department so they could view all the signals, and there's other cameras that are going to be put up. There is going to be disruption to traffic, no question, but the signals have to remain. It's Mayfield Road, and taken out one at a time or however they're systematically going to do it. We will be invited to the pre-construction meeting, which ODOT will run, and then we'll get all that information at that time. Once they have a low bidder that's awarded, we'll have a pre-construction meeting, we'll have a schedule, and we can give you more information. At this time, though, that's all we have.
Do we know, I know that we've got new cameras, the police have?
Yes.
So does this interfere with any of that, or could,
This is in addition to what we already have, and I think a lot of our cameras now are Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And this will be hard connected with fiber, so it's actually better video. that
Mr.
you can
Mano.
get.
but they're not connect, these,
Tolbin,
this isn't
one
connected?
question.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mano.
I hope that the new installation, the new boxes will make it easier to adjust timing on these lights. I've had 4 phone calls over the last month about the Golden Gate area. The timing on those lights is crazy. And I know our guys go out and try to adjust them, but they always seem to go back off again. So I'm hoping that this new equipment will
That's the intent.
enable
This
that
is the latest
timing
and
to-
greatest technology, and it'll be interconnected and be able to be adjusted by our police department on a computer. So I'm hoping the same thing, because I've heard the same complaints.
Will these lights be down by Som, fixing the ones over in the corner of Som and Mayfield, or just up by Golden Gate?
Every signal on Mayfield Road will have new technology, new wiring and new control boxes, and only the 3 west of Lander have to be replaced, because something with the mast arm is it's either too old or it's obsolete or something. But every signal will have the new technology put in it, yes.
Okay.
So the ones at Som, yes, from really Gates Mills all the way to Lyndhurst. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Mr. Minor?
Just one quick question. Do these new lights come with upgraded crosswalk signaling? You know, some of these new ones have like beeps that let those that are vision impaired.
Yeah, I'm
or-
not that familiar with the plans. I mean, Michael Schweikert, your traffic engineer, prepared them. I don't think we were getting, you're talking about the audio signals rather than just the visual. And I'm not sure that's in that, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chuney. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this ordinance has now been adopted. I've been having questions from council, ask when we were going to remove the item that's been on the table for quite some time. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to remove 2023-32 from the table.
So moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Balestrea. Roll call on the motion to remove ordinance number 2023-32 from the table.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance number 2023 has been removed. Mr. Schmidlin.
2023, 32.
32.
32 has been removed.
Read it.
Want me to read it?
Read it, please.
2023-32, an ordinance amending Chapter 121 of the codified ordinances of the city titled Council by amending Section 121.021 to create an Economic Development Committee of Council. First reading, second reading.
Third reading. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. The ordinance was introduced by a former councilman to establish an economic development committee. This matter was referred to the legislative committee for further discussion. Copies of the legislative committee meeting minutes were, I believe, in your packet from January 29th of 2024. Actually, they're at everyone's place this evening. I'll open it up for discussion if anyone wants to talk about this ordinance.
Well, before I
It was
talk about the
tabled.
specific ordinance, what was that motion to approve just for?
To put it back on the table.
Open up discussion.
Take it off the table to put it on the agenda.
No, there was a,
Yeah, we did
Madam
that,
Chair.
and then there was
I'm
a
sorry.
motion to
no, there was a,
approve.
you have to have a motion to approve to vote it yes or no. So
Okay,
procedurally, now you can say yes or no on it.
okay.
Take it off the table
Take it off the
first.
table.
and
Okay, I
then
just wanted to make
get it
sure
on the
what we
agenda.
first and seconded just now.
Yeah.
All right, so specifically to the ordinance, I think the spirit of this ordinance was to somehow motivate a good relationship between council and now Jeremy's position. I think from the Finance Committee perspective, however this goes, I think me being the chair of it, I'll probably be communicating more with you moving forward around the economic programs of the city, just to bring to council to make sure we're all fully informed and educated about what the city is doing. So I think just from a spirit perspective, I think the Finance Committee can pick up on this either way. So I'm just tossing that out there. But Dana and I, well, the Director of Finance, to be more specific, we've had a couple of conversations around this topic and how the Finance Committee could play more of a role without being, we'll say, an overarching burden to the city's ability to reach out to businesses and foster that type of relationship. So
Thank you. I would just like to say that Mr. Rowan is doing exactly what this council has wanted you to do, coming to the meetings, giving us updates as much as you can during a public meeting. I think this is what we've requested, and that was the reason they instituted this type of legislation, because we didn't have that in place before. So I don't know how everybody feels on council. If there's anything further you want to discuss, I can let you address it. Mrs. Sabetta.
I just want to say I agree with you. That's exactly what we've been looking for is, and I think we're doing just fine
Yeah.
with the director that we really don't need a committee at this time.
We don't need the ordinance.
Anything further? Good. Thank you. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
No,
Mr. Minor,
Didn't clarify.
we need to clarify the
Oh.
vote.
Let's go back. Shanisha. A no vote means you're in favor.
No.
Or
No.
you're not in favor of this legislation. A yes vote means that you are in favor of it. Okay. So we'll start over with the roll call.
Ms. Tobin,
No.
Mrs. Sabetta,
No,
Mr. Minor,
No.
Mr. Mano,
No.
Mr. Medic,
No.
Mr. Balestria,
No.
Mrs. Snyder.
No. All right. Thank you, everyone. We will now move to motions, beginning with motion A.
Motion A, a motion to authorize the solicitation of bids for the Marnell Sewer Project.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by Mr. Minor. This motion would allow the city to move forward to process for the Marnell Sewer Project for accepting bids. Anything further from council? No? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
yes,
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Motion A has been carried. Is there any new business from council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Minor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.